Welcome, sports fans, to the 39th edition of Changeover Chat in the Tennis One app. I'm your host, Randy Master. Today's guest is a 25-year tennis industry veteran, beginning his career at World Team Tennis, where he rose to general manager of the Philadelphia Freedoms, Delaware Smash, and the Newport Beach Breakers. He has worked tirelessly for the USTA at the sectional and national levels, to past president of USTA Middle States, and a past chairman of USTA National Delegates. He is currently director at the USTA Foundation. Our guest is a graduate of the University of Delaware, go Blue Hens, where he was a two-time team MVP and two-time captain. He is a native of Bergen County, New Jersey. Please welcome my friend Jeff Harrison. Welcome,
Hey,
Jeff.
Randy. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This is great. We'll catch up and talk a little tennis today.
It'll be a lot of fun. As we've talked about, you and I come from similar backgrounds. We played a lot of junior tennis up through high school and college, and then went on to make tennis our career and our passion. Where did it start for you, Jeff, growing up, and who got you into the sport?
Yeah, I was fortunate. Both my parents played, and so it was kind of in the family blood. My uncle was a high-level player, and it was our weekend thing. It was our family thing, and it was just one of those things. As a family, we enjoyed our time together, and as we all got pretty good at it, it became my passion.
And that passion so obviously led you to the University of Delaware, where it seemed like, based on what I read, you kept getting better and better, moved up to play number one. What was that college tennis career like for you?
College tennis was the best, and I think I steal this from Billie Jean, but tennis is a team sport in a lot of ways. And when you're on a team and you're playing for your teammates and you're playing singles and doubles, and you have a coach and you have people behind you that are counting on you, it's rare in our sport. Usually, tennis is such an individual sport, and we're on our own. But I think when you're playing college tennis and high level, a lot of people are counting on you and you're relying on your teammates. And so it was a great experience at the University of Delaware. Probably the best part was my senior year. I met my wife, Mary, who played on the women's team at the university. So Court 5, University of Delaware. I met my wife, and so the story is even more special. What the University of Delaware means to me.
Absolutely. That's a great memory. And I actually met my wife through tennis, so I think we
Yeah.
have a lot more in common than we might
Yeah, right.
think.
We might be synergized here.
So you land at World Team Tennis. At that point, the headquarters was where? It was on the East Coast
Yeah,
when you started.
there was headquarters in Chicago and in New York, and
Okay.
really, Billie Jean King and Alana Kloss really started my career.
Yeah.
They hired me pretty much out of school, and I ran the Delaware Smash, a World Team Tennis franchise in Wilmington, Delaware, DuPont Country Club. And again, the synergies of life. That's where my wife happened to belong, and we got married at DuPont Country Club. So the small world of life in tennis. But Billie Jean Alana really gave me, all my opportunities to kind of grow and develop in team tennis. And again, going back to a team, you're working in a team environment, men and women on the same team fighting for a common goal. It was a great atmosphere to work in.
Yeah, and we work very closely at Tennis One with World Team
Yeah.
Tennis. Now it's a different animal that it was back when you were very involved. Carlos Silva, in my opinion, has done a great. He's got a ton of energy, and he's done a lot of very positive things for the league. At the end of the day, it all goes back to Billie Jean and Alana and that mission to have men and women playing together on the same court and competing, and that's never changed. And this
Yeah.
year's World Team Tennis format, because it was in the pandemic, because they were at the Greenbrier, kind of locked in a bubble, there wasn't a whole lot of tennis going on at that time. I think there were a lot of eyeballs on it for sure, and I saw that camaraderie between the men and the women, and I think that again, it all goes back to that original mission. Would you say?
Yeah, it's amazing. It really was a family. These teams travel together, they live together, they're with a coach, and it's so rare, again, in our individual sport that you're on a team. And there's some former players that are now married and have kids, and there was a lot of different dating relationships that the team members had. But some Grand Slam champions came out of meeting in team tennis. I know Lisa Raymond and Renee Stubbs won a World Team Tennis Championship in '01, but then went on to win the U.S. Open doubles, a few weeks later. And so the way team tennis was placed in the calendar, I thought was fantastic as well. In July, it's right after Wimbledon, before U.S. Open. Everyone's thinking tennis or playing tennis, and what a great way to get the family out is doing a little team tennis in the evenings.
Sure. It's always been fun to watch. I've always tried to go to World Team Tennis matches when I can or watch it on TV. I've always been a huge fan. Your job there, and combined with what you were doing at the USTA Middle States section at the time, that's not an easy balance. But with your passion and your passion for growing the game, was that a tough balance to be so involved with your professional job and kind of your quote volunteer job with the USTA?
Yeah, it was a balance. And I say this to all of our friends in the tennis industry. We're such a small sport, a smaller entity, that we all really have to be in this together and all support together. And there was that fine line. You wanted USTA Middle States to support uh, the Delaware Smash or the Philadelphia Freedoms, and you wanted the Philadelphia Freedoms and the Delaware Smash to support Middle States, the growth of tennis. And there were some fine lines. I was president of Middle States at the time, but also running two teams, as you said, as for my job. But my volunteer role was president of Middle States, and I just remember having to leave board meetings when we would talk about team tennis, funding for team tennis or support of team tennis, because I wore both hats. Um, but I think, Randy, as you'll agree, is more and more in our industry, we all wear multiple hats. We're all involved in different parts of the sport. But again, the passionate people make it grow.
Yeah, and I would say to your point, and I'm not trying to be sarcastic here, we all wear multiple hats, sometimes for the good, sometimes for the betterment, and
Yeah,
sometimes for not. But based on what you said, yes, for the betterment, because we're all trying to make the sport
yeah.
better.
For the most part, much better, for sure.
So you're now at the USTA Foundation. Um, I was looking at your mission the statement this morning, and it's similar to New York Junior Tennis, which I'm involved in. Um, Foundation's mission is to bring tennis and education together to change lives by using this powerful combination of tennis and education. The foundation serves up dreams for underserved youth. I can't think of a better way to put it. And Jeff, quite frankly, I can't think of a better place for you at this point in your career. When I heard that you had gone over there, it's like, wasn't a surprise. I mean,
Uh,
it just wasn't. Uh, I know what your values are and what your career trajectory has been, and it has to feel like a great position for you.
yeah, really, it's in the world of our sport, and sometimes it's the circle of life. I thank you for saying that. I'm enjoying what I'm doing at the USTA Foundation. Uh, when Dan Faber and Richard Ader and some of the others brought me on, these were long-time tennis relationships. It really wasn't interviewing. We in a sense all interviewed each other in life before. That we are passionate about our sport, but really it's a great role for me. It takes everything I've done before, and again, use the work word before. Sometimes I feel that we're not even working. We're sharing something we're passionate about. It's raising money, doing special events, PR, trying to generate the interest for tennis on an NJTL level, for kids who really can't afford the sport. And I applaud you for being on a local board of an NJTL. The foundation, in a sense, the umbrella of 250 NJTLs around the country, and our job is to fundraise and help capacity build these chapters so they're stronger entities within their community. But gosh, NYJTL has been a staple of New York tennis and on the local and national scene for years, and they're doing amazing work.
Yeah, and the Kerry Lead Center has certainly made all the difference. It's such a great hub for the kids in the community, and I'm sad to see that everybody is that it can't kind of run at its full potential right now. When you go back to your roles at the foundation, Jeff, what do you think do you think fundraising and sponsorship development is that really the core of what you do on a daily basis? If you're tasked with bringing in revenue, and in this case it's revenue in the form of grants and sponsorships, um, for me, I've always been in that position. At the end of the day, hey, you have to bring dollars in. Again, it's a different kind of dollar at a nonprofit, but
Yeah, it is a
that
little
makes
different. You're right. From the World Team Tennis side of things, we were pitching on the advertising side, and sometimes there's TV rights and eyeballs in the stands. Really, with the foundation or really any nonprofit fundraising, you're appealing to the heartstrings a bit. You are telling a story. We're storytellers, Randy. You and I. That's what we do. We're telling a passionate story about the kids that need it most to help their tennis and education. And so it's a different type of pitch. It's a different type of donor. It's a philanthropic donor. No one's ever asked me um, how many eyeballs are going to see their grant. They're going to say how many kids are affected by the dollars that we raise, and it's passion. At the end of the day, it's people who enjoy our sport and want to give back.
Yeah, if let's say you meet someone today, or you're given a reference, or it's somebody that hasn't donated in the past, and you're still trying to um, make them believe that it's for such an important cause. Jeff, how do you explain exactly? Let's just say it's $1,000. How do you explain exactly to them where that $1,000 is going?
Yeah, in our setup with the foundation, as I mentioned, 250 chapters are under us, and so we always pitch a donor from the national level. 92 cents of every dollar is going right back out to the community. So
Right.
depending on where that individual lives, they usually want to see the money affected locally in a community that affects them. And so, you know, I always try to find where our donors from, and it's very easy to match up a local NJTL. If you're from New York, I'm going to say NYJTL, Harlem Junior Tennis, Kings County. If you're in Philadelphia, we're going to say Down the Line or Legacy, and try to connect that local dot. But again, every dollar that we raise, 92 cents, goes back out to the community. And I think that's a great story to tell. The USTA is great. They cover the USTA Foundation's overhead. So salary, office expenses, so we can afford to give that money directly to the youth groups that need them for sure.
Right. So going back to sponsorship a bit, I'm backing up. You just did a remarkable, I don't want to call it a deal, a partnership with Jersey Mike's.
Yeah.
And that was, I think it was for roughly $1 million.
Yeah, they were
Or,
great. Again, passion, right?
yeah,
Peter and Tatiana Cancro, the founders and CEO of Jersey Mike's, they love tennis and they love helping kids. And I think if you look at some of the other philanthropic giving they have done, this really fit into their wheelhouse.
yeah,
And I can't tell you how appreciative the foundation is and these kids around the country for their vision. Not only them as individuals, but the company has gotten behind it. And we're helping to feed kids through Jersey Mike subs at some of our events. And it really is a great relationship. But again, it comes from passion. It comes from Peter and Tatiana Cancro really seeing what we do um, across the country. And it's amazing, our chapters and the franchises match up pretty well. I think they have almost 2,000 franchises in most cities around the U.S. We have 250 chapters in pretty much every major market. And so it was a nice national relationship that we can affect a lot of kids.
sure. And I love Jersey Mike subs, by the
Yeah, they're
way.
great.
I usually get it Mike's way.
All right, there you go. That's
I
right.
don't.
Well, there's an Aaron Judge way, and there's a few other ways,
Yeah.
but
No. Exactly. So trying to be. Well, this is serious. I wasn't trying to. I was trying to make light of a great sponsor. So.
yes,
So tell us. So I want to tell you can't not have a conversation like this and avoid the pandemic because it's played such a tough role on everyone in this country, everyone in this world. From my perspective, it's had the largest effect on my kids because everything in their life has changed. They aren't getting the experience that I had in high school right now, not even close to it. They're missing football games, they're missing dances,
yeah,
and um, but at the same time, they they have a much better situation in life than the kids by and large that NJTL
yeah,
chapters help. And you and I both know that is not an easy thing to think about because the chapters become the centerpiece of these kids' lives.
absolutely.
Tennis and education and the mentoring. And some of them don't, they don't have a stable family environment. And this is kind of where they're nurtured when they don't have that. And they may be in a situation at home that's not ideal. It it's tough. And I know everybody that's involved in what you do and what I do on the NYJTL board. It's a difficult thing to think about. How have you kind of done your
Yeah,
best to help these kids during this time?
it's you said it right on. It's tough. A lot of our NJTL chapters are safe havens after school. From that 3 to 6, where they get tutoring and they get a healthy meal. A lot of that's been shut down, and so we've pivoted to online tutoring. Well, most of these kids don't have computers, and so how do you do that? And through the good work of Rob Holland and Dan Faber and a lot of the key partners that we have in LA and Miami and Chicago, we're getting tablets to these kids so they can at least have an opportunity to stay connected and learn. But we just can't assume they all have internet or a computer. And so that's been a process for us trying to work with the chapters to make sure these kids do have that opportunity. And in the warmer weather climate, um, the kids are outside and they are playing tennis and they are social distance. And the great thing about our sport is it is probably the safest and safer socially distant sport out there. The distance across the net, um, and a lot of these NJTLs are adapting. It's just less kids on a court at a time.
Yeah,
But right now, that's their only outlet.
yeah. So again, I think every chapter in the country is doing their best. Our company is based in Minneapolis, and they have a pretty big chapter out there. It's run by John Wheaton, who's
Yeah,
David's brother. Apparently, that whole facility has been shut down. It's not like Leeds, where there is some activity. The intensive training program is going on. Do you find that there are a lot of facilities that are just absolutely closed? I would think that a majority of them would be closed right now,
yeah. I'm going to use the word temporary suspended.
right?
We've been very fortunate. All 250 chapters have survived the pandemic. Now, scale down, pause in certain points, but none of them have shut their doors. None of them said we're done. None of them have disbanded their boards, which is a huge accreditation to the whole USTA Foundation and the USTA Community Tennis uh, family. The fact that they're all still in business is huge. Will the first quarter of 2021 be a huge test for all of us? Absolutely. And I think everyone's trying to figure out pivoting, not only financially, but on the ground. How do you pivot? Our job is to keep all 250 chapters doors open. I'm proud to say that they are staying open, and will continue to drive that, particularly in this next quarter.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. I wanted to, speaking of people that drive the programs from an overarching standpoint, is your board of directors. And I went on your website this morning. I didn't realize, obviously, I know a lot of the folks in there. There are a lot of folks that I don't know. I'm sure um, I'm sure they're all giving as much as they can to the kids. They wouldn't be part of not just ceremonial board members of the NYJTL. They're all in. They do everything they can. You have a lot of different boards. It is the officers and directors. There's an honorary board. There's a celebrity and player advisory council. I might be missing one.
Yeah.
How do they all work together? And is there supposed to be anything synergistic between the board? They all kind of do different things.
Yeah, they all do have different, they bring different assets to the table. You know, our celebrity board led by Alec Baldwin and Katie Kirk, uh, they are powerful names. They can help get the message out. They can help fundraise with their voice. Um, and then, you know, you have the honorary board. You have two past presidents of the USTA, John Bogosian
Yeah.
and Alan Schwartz, and someone like, you know, our mutual friend and Pam Shriver and Patrick McEnroe and James Blake. You know, these
Yeah.
are all former chairs of the USTA Foundation that have massive reach and respect and appeal in the tennis industry. But really, the core part of the board is it's a 15 person fiduciary board and 25 advisory board members. They are passionate, but they're also very good financially. It's a fundraising board, as you would have seen from our Rally to Rebuild campaign.
Yeah.
Uh, when the pandemic first hit, we challenged the board, and they stepped up and said, "We'll match up to $1 million." And so this group of individuals, and I'm proud to say we're close to $7 million, but
Wow.
it all came from a board sending a message. We as an entity, a group, are gonna generate at least $1 million. And so when you have a group of people like that, and as you mentioned, there's a lot of familiar names on there that have just been very strong in our industry for years. There's a lot of new names and people from around the country that are writing significant checks to help the mission.
Right. And when you talk about helping the mission in a big way, uh, you have a number of fundraisers throughout the year. The one that I'm most familiar with, maybe you can get me an invite one year, is
Yeah,
the big foundation dinner at the U.S. Open and that night session. That's seems like a tremendous fundraiser. Seems like a tremendous time for the people you invite. I'm sure you don't have to prepare for that night at all, Jeff. You just kind of
just happens, right?
go
It
in
just
there.
happens.
Now, what's that like? Not so much as like a bunch of celebrities, but from a fundraising standpoint, how much does that event mean to your overall goal for the year?
Yeah, it is. It does kick off the U.S. Open, and certainly you have an invite. We're actually looking for an MC, so be careful what you wish for. You'll certainly
That's no.
you'll certainly
I
get
just
in
want to
there.
go. I want to go upstairs. I
Yeah,
just want to go upstairs. But
yeah. No, it is special. It's, you know, opening night of the U.S. Open. Just the energy in the building, and there's usually, you know, music and entertainment before the first match. But you know, it's 200 people in the President's Suite. Um, Honoring an individual or individuals that have done a lot for the foundation. This coming year, Tom Chen, our retiring board chair, will be honored. And Tom's been the chair of the foundation for uh, 6 years, and he's totally just, you know, given the foundation and the board members some great vision. And so he'll be honored, as well as the original nine, Billie Jean King and Rosie Casals and the rest of the original nine, for really starting the women's tennis tour. And so uh, our honorees are usually very powerful individuals or groups as well.
sure. And I'm sure there are, just like an NYJTL function like our luncheon, which unfortunately had to be a virtual
Yeah.
luncheon this year, but those events, not so much, a social 2 hours. It is, but it's about the awards. It's about the kids,
Yeah.
and there are a number of awards for kids that have been extraordinary in the program, whether it's how hard they've worked or improved or the fact that they've all, 8, 10 kids from the graduating class are going on to great colleges, some of them playing tennis. Is that something at USTA Foundation at the larger level, at your events? Do you really get those kids involved that are overachieving in those events?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the carrot. Tennis, the U.S. Open professional tennis is a carrot. A lot of them aspire to be at that level one day, and so, you know, 32 scholarships were given out this year for colleges and universities to our graduating seniors. Over $350,000 worth of scholarships, and these are, big time schools from Drexel University to University of Wisconsin to UNLV to Villanova. A lot of our kids are going on to great universities, and so 32 scholarship award winners this year. We put that right directly to their college, and then, at the U.S. Open we try to bring kids in just again to get that awe of wow. We do a great partnership with American Express through our excellence program, and our excellence program are better kids that really are on that pathway to playing high level college tennis or potentially going pro. Francis Tiafo came from a program like the excellence program, and so we get these kids from around the country out to the U.S. Open under the American Express excellence program. So it's you're right, it's the carrot. When you walk into the grounds of the U.S. Open, if you're not inspired every day, I don't know what will.
Yeah, and seeing that in action, whether I'm involved as a board member at NYJTL or I'm just observing what's going on the grounds with kids from other chapters, there's nothing like, seeing the smiles on these kids' faces, because you have to remember, and everybody remembers that are part of this nonprofit tennis community, that they, like you and I, they didn't grow up in this environment where, at least it was for me, my mom's paying for the tournaments and she's driving me there and
Yes.
the lessons, and you just have to realize, it's great to see these kids that just didn't have any of that, but they're being introduced to tennis through so many generous people, and it's a skill that they're combining with their education, and they're taking that through their entire life. So it's I just can't say enough about the work that you guys do nationally to bring it all together.
Yeah, no, thank you. And listen, it really in groups like NYJTL and all of our chapters, locally is where it happens. It's where the programs happen. It's where the coaches, these coaches that inspire the kids, it's huge for these kids to have real high level coaching. So they're learning the skill in the right way, as opposed to just here's a racket and some balls. And then again, NYJTL hosting world team tennis matches for these kids to see these players that are on TV, and then 2 minutes later they're off the court spending time with these kids. It's the message, it's the inspiration. The money's nice. I always say it's great raising millions of dollars, but some of that intangible stuff is really, these kids want time. They want a little bit of your expertise. And again, I applaud all the chapters out there, because that's really what you do on a daily basis.
Yeah, and just quickly, when you talk about the chapters, and there's so many of them, I know that there are grants that go to all the chapters, but there are a lot of struggling chapters out there, or not struggling, fledgling. Like, I know, didn't Todd Martin start his chapter? That wasn't that long ago when Todd started the chapter up in Newport.
Yeah.
Am I right? But chapters like that, and I think that's been, as far as I know, pretty successful.
Yeah.
As a chapter that started recently.
Yeah, right. It's a recent chapter. Again, he's got passionate people around him, and he has a community. And everyone thinks Newport, Rhode Island, Hall of Fame, grass courts, but really that there's a community that needs an NJTL and needs Todd and his team's leadership. These are smaller community organizations that really make a difference. And so, yeah, Todd Martin and his team are doing a great job.
Yeah, and it kind of back to the genesis of the question, the NJTL chapters across the country, take the pandemic out of it for a minute, if you can. The ones that were kind of in trouble beforehand, just because they didn't have the funding, they didn't have the kids, they didn't have people to oversee the programs. How do you try to intervene, and when do you have to say, like, I don't know if this is going to work, but maybe we find something else for the kid or whatever? I know that you don't want to turn your back, but at the same time, if you don't have the kids and you don't have people work, it's tough.
Yeah, it is that gentle balance. And, I think we've done a really good job more and more with the sections. The USTA sections are powerful entities in themselves, and they have their own rounds of grants, and they do have full-time staffs that can help nurture them along as well from a local level as well as the foundation on a national level.
Yeah.
But again, the USTA sections, as you know, 17 around the country, are powerful entities in themselves, and I think their mission is to grow tennis, and our NJTL chapters have the best opportunity for growth.
Okay, well, we have to talk a second about tennis. I wrote some easy ones down. Breakthrough U.S. Male Player of the Year in 2021. I'll tell you mine.
Okay, it better not be mine.
And they're already playing good tennis. So when I say breakthrough, I'm not talking about somebody that's 150 in the world. I love Taylor Fritz.
Yes, totally.
Okay, so we agree on that. I like Francis. I like Riley. I just think Fritz has shown. I mean, World Team Tennis, this guy was serving bombs. I mean,
he dominated. Playing for the Freedoms, he was a level ahead of everyone. He was great to watch.
Sure. And then on the other side, on the female side, I wrote down about 10 names. I was trying to figure out which one I was going to pick. So Pegula, Risk, Coco, Danielle Collins, Jen Brady. You might have another one. I got to go with Jen Brady.
Totally.
Oh, okay. So we agree on both.
Yeah, and you throw Danielle Collins in there too. And Sophia Kennan really well. She's really broken through. WTA Player of the Year and all, but it's a great group that are coming up that are breaking through or continue to break through. It's exciting to watch. Venus and Serena are eventually going to retire. They're still playing great tennis, but that next generation of American tennis, again, is important to inspire. It really is.
Well, again, this has been inspirational. I love talking to people in tennis that inspire on a daily basis, and you're certainly one of them.
Thank you.
Based on the incredible work that you've done your entire career. To me, you're kind of one of these unsung heroes. Even though you are sung about, you're a little bit unsung.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for speaking for me, Randy. That's nice of you.
I mean that in the best way, because you're very modest about what you do. You don't try to, promote yourself, but you're to me an unsung hero because you're modest about the things that you've accomplished in this sport, and you continue to, and
thank you.
Doesn't go unnoticed for sure. But I think the way you handle yourself in the roles that you've had, you're never one to promote what you
well, thank you.
do.
No, that's very nice of you to say, for sure. Feelings certainly mutual, and again, it's I've been fortunate to be put in very good situations where I really don't feel I'm working. It's following passion. So I think when you're passionate, it just is a little bit easier. But thank you very much for your kind words.
No problem at all. See each other out there in person.
See each other at opening night gala.
Hey, this is on tape. So I just I won't make a big deal, go under the radar, but I'd love to go to that event. I've always always admired it and kind of like I was like looking and but anyway, thanks a lot. We'll talk soon.
Great. Thanks, Randy.